What's good, y'all? It's Evan from DMV Sports, back after a little bit of a hiatus to give you an update on all things DMV Sports.
Sports Zone.
Chased down by Beal in the corner for three, gets fouled and hits.
Welcome to DC.
Well, they tag him out.
You know where you're at, the USA Cup. You're taking it slightly, I'm taking it slightly. Now how you gon' act, you gon' be right back. Well, we gon' be right here, we gon' be right here. We ain't going nowhere. Welcome to DC. DC, the home of Chuck Brown. Oh, you don't know the sound? Well, let me break it.
Just real quick before I begin, a little bit of an explanation as to where I've been over the last 3 weeks. Well, Bowie State was making a playoff run, and it was kind of all hands on deck on that front. A little bit of a zero dark 30 vibe from me. So, that's where I've been. Now your boy's back, so let's get into it. As always, we start with the Washington football team. So for Washington, it was a thriller this week in the desert in Vegas. And the new kid, Brian Johnson, born in D.C. and raised in the DMV, made his name known with the game-winning field goal to beat the Raiders 17-15. The win improves Washington to 6-6 on the season, second place in the NFC East. They've won 4 in a row, and they're currently the 6th seed in the NFC. And if the season ended today, Washington would play Tampa in the first round. A big week ahead this week for the football team as they welcome in those dreaded Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys come in at 8-4, first place in the NFC East, and the 4th seed in the NFC. So if the season ended today, they would play LA in the first round. And Dallas is coming off a 27-17 win in New Orleans on Thursday. And by the way, this ain't the only rivalry we're going to be talking about this episode. Up next, let's talk about the Washington Wizards. So for the Wizards, it hasn't exactly been going swimmingly lately as they fell 102-90 in Toronto on Sunday. The loss drops the Wizards to 14-10. They're tied with Miami for 4th in the Eastern Conference, but the Heat hold the tiebreak, which puts the Wizards at 5th, and they've lost 2 in a row, both by double digits. But here's the week ahead for Washington. For the Wizards, the week begins tonight when they head to Indiana to face the Pacers. The Pacers come in at 9-16, 13th place in the Eastern Conference, and Indiana's coming off a 113-104 loss against the Heat on Friday. They've lost 4 in a row. This is the second of 4 between the Wizards and the Pacers. Washington leads the season series 1-0 after beating Indiana 135-134 in overtime in D.C. on October 22nd. On Wednesday, the Wizards will conclude this road trip when they head to Detroit to face the Pistons. The Pistons are currently 4-18, last place in the Eastern Conference. Detroit's coming off a 114-103 loss in Phoenix on Thursday. They've lost 8 in a row. This is the first of 4 between the Wizards and the Pistons. Washington won 2 out of 3 against Detroit last season. And for the Wizards, the week concludes on Saturday with a tough test as they return home to host the Utah Jazz. The Jazz are currently 16-7, 3rd place in the West. Utah is coming off a 109-108 win in Cleveland on Sunday. They've won 4 in a row. This is the first of 2 between the Wizards and the Jazz. Washington won both meetings against Utah last season. Up next, let's talk about the Washington Capitals. So far this season, every time the Capitals have needed a win, they got one, and such was the case Saturday when they beat the Blue Jackets 3-1. The win improves the Caps to 15-4-6. That's good for 36 points and first place in the Metro. So here's the week ahead for Washington. For the Capitals, the week begins tonight when they host the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks come in at 13-8-4. That's good for 30 points and 3rd place in the Pacific Division. Anaheim's coming off a 4-3 shootout loss against the Flames on Friday, but they've gotten a point in 3 straight. This is the last of 2 between the Caps and the Ducks. Anaheim leads the season series 1-0 after beating Washington 3-2 in overtime in Anaheim on November 16th. For the Capitals, the homestand concludes on Friday with a big rivalry game as they welcome in the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins are currently 11-8-5. That's good for 27 points and 4th place in the Metropolitan Division. Pittsburgh's coming off a 4-1 win in Vancouver on Saturday. This is the second of 4 between the Caps and the Pens. Washington leads the season series 1-0 after trouncing Pittsburgh 6-1 in D.C. on November 14th. And for the Capitals, the week concludes on Saturday when they head to Buffalo to face the Sabres. The Sabres are currently 8-13-3. That's good for 19 points and 6th place in the Atlantic Division. Buffalo's coming off a 6-2 loss in Carolina on Saturday. They've lost 4 in a row. This is the second of 3 between the Caps and the Sabres. Washington leads the season series 1-0 after beating Buffalo 5-3 in D.C. on November 8th. Now we shift gears into college football, and the bowl games have been announced, and we will get to where Maryland, Virginia, and Virginia Tech landed in a second. But first, we got to talk about the Army-Navy game this weekend, because Navy comes in at 3-8, and although they are not going to a bowl game this season, there would be nothing sweeter for the Mids to end their season than knocking off those dreaded Army Black Knights. Now, in the Army-Navy series, Army has won 4 of the last 5, but if Navy wins, the midshipmen would actually make it 2 of the last 3 over Army. So yeah, that's the stakes. So now we get into the bowls, and we're going to start with the Virginia Cavaliers. So for Virginia, it's been a roller coaster season. Started 1-2, rattled off 5 wins in a row, but then limped down the stretch and then lost Bronco Mendenhall in the process. But all in all, it lands Virginia in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, where they will take on the SMU Mustangs. That game will be December 29th at, obviously, Fenway Park, and I will break this one down further once we get closer. Hey, maybe even give you some names to look at for Washington football team fans. Might even do that with a whole bunch of the other bowls. Never know. But now, what about Maryland and Virginia Tech? Where did they land? Well, oddly enough, against each other, the Terps and the Hokies will be squaring off in the New Era Pinstripe Bowl December 29th at Yankee Stadium. So it's kind of funny how the 3 DMV teams that qualified for a bowl game are all going to ballparks, MLB ballparks, and it's Fenway and Yankee Stadium respectively. But yeah, obviously Maryland, Virginia Tech, I will be breaking this down more as we get closer to the game. And now we transition to college basketball, and we'll start with the Maryland Terrapins. So, on the hardwood, things haven't exactly been too good in College Park lately, after Maryland parted ways with Mark Turgeon earlier this week, and then in their last appearance, they fell 67-61 against Northwestern on Sunday to open up conference play. The loss drops the Terps to 5-4 on the season, 0-1 in the Big Ten, 10th place in the conference standings, and they've lost 3 in a row now. But here's the week ahead for the Terps. For Maryland, only 1 game this week, but it's a tough one as they head to New York to face the 20th ranked Florida Gators. Florida comes in at 6-1, and the Gators are coming off a 74-67 loss at Oklahoma on Wednesday. Up next, let's talk about the Georgetown Hoyas. So for Georgetown, the up and down season continues. In the latest installment, they fell 80-67 at South Carolina on Sunday. The loss drops G-Town to 3-4 on the season, but now here's the week ahead for Georgetown. For Georgetown, the week begins on Wednesday when they welcome in the UMBC Retrievers. UMBC comes in at 5-3. The Retrievers are coming off a 70-60 loss at Delaware on Sunday. And for Georgetown, the week concludes with a heated rivalry game against the Syracuse Orange. Syracuse is currently 5-3, 1-0 in the ACC. That's good for 8th place in the conference standings. Orange are coming off a 63-60 win at Florida State. They've won 2 in a row. And yeah, like I said, there's a lot of rivalries going down this week in the DMV. Lots of smoke to be had. Up next, let's talk about the Virginia Cavaliers. So Virginia looks like they're finding their footing, and that's implied by the 57-56 win over Pitt on Friday, the last time they took the court. The win improves the Wahoos to 6-3 on the season, 1-0 in the ACC. That's good for 6th place in the conference standings. So here's the week ahead for Virginia. For Virginia, only 1 game this week, and that's on Tuesday when they welcome in an in-state foe, the James Madison Dukes. James Madison comes in at 7-2. The Dukes are coming off a 96-54 win over East Men. They've won 2 in a row. And last but not least, let's talk about the Virginia Tech Hokies. So for Virginia Tech, their conference season didn't get off to the best start as they fell 80-61 against Wake Forest on Saturday. The loss drops the Hokies to 6-3 on the season, 0-1 in the ACC. That's good for 10th place in the conference standings. But here's the week ahead for Virginia Tech. For Virginia Tech, the week begins on Wednesday when they welcome in the Cornell Big Red. Cornell comes in at 8-1. The Big Red are coming off a 122-64 win over Keuka. They've won 4 in a row. And for Virginia Tech, the week concludes on Sunday when they head to Dayton to face the Dayton Flyers. Dayton is currently 6-3. The Flyers are coming off a resounding 79-41 win over Northern Illinois. They've won 5 in a row, and that's a streak that includes wins over Miami and Kansas. Well, that's it for this update. But for the rest of the week, we got some pretty good content coming up here on DMV Sports Zone because, after all, it is Dallas week. So until next time, I'm Evan from DMV Sports Zone signing off.